My name is Erica. I am almost 50 years old, and I have been married to James for 25 years. We have 2 adult children who live their own lives now. On the outside, our life looks ordinary, but ordinary does not always mean happy. James is lazy, not just a little lazy, deeply, completely lazy. Every evening and every weekend, he lies on the couch, watching television, drinking beer, and sleeping. I used to joke and call him a couch pumpkin, but after so many years, the joke stopped being funny. He never helped around the house. He never wanted to take a walk or spend time together. Whenever I asked for anything, he would say the same words. I am tired. I need to rest. Leave me alone. So I left him alone, and I did everything myself. I cooked, I cleaned, I washed dishes. I raised our children. I carried our life on my shoulders while he rested. We used to love each other. I still remember that, but love quietly disappeared somewhere between the dirty dishes and the long, silent evenings. We did not fight much. We simply existed together, like 2 strangers sharing the same roof. I had accepted it. I told myself that this was just how marriage looked after many years. I thought we would grow old together, drink tea in the kitchen, watch our grandchildren play, and live out our quiet days side by side. I believed that was our story. I was wrong. One Saturday morning, I was getting ready to go shopping. I opened the front door, then remembered my bank card was in another jacket. I stepped back inside and began searching through my pockets. That is when I heard his voice from the living room. He was on the phone and he was laughing softly. I froze, not because of the laugh, but because of the word he used. He said, "Yes." Honey, I pressed my back against the wall and stopped breathing. Honey, he had never once called me honey in 25 years. He hated pet names. He always said they were silly. My hands began to shake. Then I heard him say, "I miss you too, darling. Tomorrow evening." I walked into the living room. He was still holding the phone. When he saw me, the color drained from his face. I asked him quietly, "Who is Honey?" He opened his mouth, he closed it. Then, in a low voice, he said, "She is my woman." The world seemed to stop. I stared at him. "Your woman," I said. "You mean your mistress?" He nodded. Something broke inside me at that moment. Something deep and quiet, like a crack in old glass. I almost laughed. I said, "You cannot fix a shelf. You cannot walk to the corner store. But somehow you found the energy for a mistress." He looked at me and said, with a strange softness in his voice, "She makes me feel alive." Those 5 words hurt more than anything else he could have said. I felt them in my chest like a physical blow. I had given him 25 years of my life. I had cooked his meals, washed his clothes, raised his children, and carried this family on my back, and he needed another woman to feel alive. I wiped my eyes. I told him to call her. I told him to go to her today, not tomorrow. He looked shocked. He said, "But this is my home." I shook my head. Not anymore, I said. You destroyed it. Go. I need to think about my life. He sat on the couch for a moment, looking lost and small. Then he picked up his wallet and his car keys. At the door, he turned and said, "Please, Erica, I am sorry. Please forgive me." I said nothing. I did not look at him. I listened to his footsteps fade, and then I heard the door close. I sat down at the kitchen table. I put my face in my hands and cried. Not soft, quiet tears, deep, painful crying that shook my whole body. 25 years. I had given him 25 years, and this was where we had arrived. I looked at the empty couch. It felt strange. For so long, he was always there, lazy, quiet, but always there. Now the room felt hollow. I remembered when our children were small. We were young then. We laughed. We made plans. We had a future that felt bright. Now all of that felt like a story about someone else's life. But then, slowly, something shifted inside me. A small, quiet voice spoke through the tears. It said, "You do not have to accept this." I said it out loud to myself. I will not live with a man who betrayed me. I will divorce him. I will start again. It was terrifying to think, but it also felt, for the first time in years, like breathing fresh air. The next morning, I called my daughter. My voice was shaking, but I told her everything. She did not hesitate. She said, "Mother, you are strong. You do not need a man like this. We love you." Her words were simple, but they gave me more strength than she knew. That afternoon, my husband's mistress appeared outside our house. I do not know what she expected. I walked out and spoke calmly. I told her to stay away from my husband and never come back. She looked surprised. She walked away without a word. When my husband tried to speak, I ignored him. I had nothing left to say to him that day. We argued that evening. I told him everything I had held inside for years. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the feeling of being invisible. He kept saying he was sorry. I shouted at him that sorry cannot give back stolen years. Sorry cannot repair broken trust. He sat in silence and I cried, not for the man he was now, but for the man I had loved once, and for all the years that could have been different. I stayed in the house while I prepared for the divorce. I had nowhere else to go, and I did not want to burden my children. Some nights I lay awake wondering how I would manage alone. Other nights I cried without knowing exactly why. Maybe for the love that had died so slowly I had not even noticed it leave. But I also called a lawyer. I asked questions. I learned about property and rights and what came next. Every step felt hard, but every step also felt like mine. The evening before the divorce was finalized. I sat alone at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. I looked around the house, the old couch, the quiet rooms, the television that had always been on. For years, this house had been a place where I served everyone else. I realized it had never truly felt like mine. Now, for the first time, I would find out who I was outside of all that. I thought about the years ahead. I could travel. I could meet new people. I could sleep without sadness sitting on my chest. I could learn what it felt like to be chosen, to be loved properly, to matter not as a cook or a cleaner, but as a person. The tears were still in my eyes, but behind them was something small and stubborn and new. It was hope. It was the quiet, steady knowledge that life was not over. It was just, finally, beginning to be mine.